You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma Podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. A huge shout out to Governor Anatoby for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by Hope is Alive. Hope is Alive exists to radically change the lives of drug addicts, alcoholics, and those who love them. Join us Saturday, September 30th for our Sobriety Sprint 5K as we remember, honor, and celebrate those who've lost their lives. This family-focused event will feature a 1-mile fun run, inflatables, food trucks, and more. Register to run or honor a loved one at sobrietysprint.com. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode. We are down at the Oklahoma Hall of Fame today. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you return guest for the third time, Mr. Jabee Williams. Jabee, thanks so much for coming down, mate.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, a couple years.
Yeah, just looking now. Last time we recorded was the 12/10/2020. So we talked about you were in the new year. The first restaurant you were opening was coming. The Slice House, Eastside Pizza was coming. You were working on a movie at that time. How's the pizza place going?
Pizza's going good.
Yeah.
Just it's been just for me just learning how to even do it, but it's going good. It's going good.
Because we talked about, I think a lot of things we did talk about too was like your kind of JB Likes Food events you were doing.
Yeah.
And that obviously leads into, wow, this is my own spot now.
Yeah.
And dealing with that, right? And staffing and all the other stuff that goes into not just putting your name on a building, but like running a business.
Actually having to, run and operate a business is totally different than just, but it's been fun, man. And, to be able to have, some part in the community in that way is important to me. So yeah.
And then, so when did the idea come that you had the opportunity to open up Scramble at the sec? Because it's in the same area, right?
Right. It's in the same development. I had actually been, thinking about Scramble for a long time. Myself and a friend that I grew up with, we would go to different cities like Atlanta, Houston, and visit different breakfast and brunch spots and stand in the long lines and pay for the expensive food and just, be a part of like that brunch culture. And there's a really thriving and black brunch culture, And so we have been saying we wanted to bring something like that back to the East Side for a long time anyways. So, we've always wanted to do something like that. And so we were able to, pull it off. And it's been just amazing to see the support and, people just loving it and, just so much good energy around it, So yeah, it's dope.
Yeah. What is that kind of brunch culture like then from the, you know, that you kind of grow up in, that you're around, like you said, that black brunch culture? What's that?
It's, you know, music and, you know, I would say like, you know, not like, it's like energy, like energetic, you know.
Like a jazz brunch type
like
scene.
a vibe, you know what I'm saying? You know, I wouldn't say like a jazz brunch type scene, because when I think of jazz, I think of like kind of chill.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
A lot more high energy.
Yeah, more high energy, you know, R&B, hip hop, you know, fun menu items, you know, and, you know, drinks. You know, we have Hennessy on tap in there, you know. So just really something that's good, something that's different, and just, you know, and it looks good in there, you know what I'm saying? Like something that you feel comfortable with bringing your family, anybody in there, and everybody's having a good time. And like church, the best way I can describe this is like a Sunday service, you know. So, which is probably the best day to go is like on a Sunday, because, you know, it's definitely a good vibe in there.
Everyone's hitting it after church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, that's right. I need to check it out. It's Colonel Stan Evans told me about it.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I saw him, he's like, "Hey, we should go to breakfast." And he said, "Well, let's go to Scrambled." So
he came and saw it before we even opened.
Yeah,
I took him in there. Yeah.
Do you kind of talk to him quite a bit?
Sometimes, you know, off and on. We, you know, I guess so. I mean, like that, yeah, you know.
Yeah. He is a pretty incredible human being, and like every time I'm around him, I try to pick his brain on something, because he's a lot.
Yeah, he's important, man, and you know, I'm blessed to just anytime I'm around him, I'm trying to soak it all up, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so you have Eastside Pizza, Scrambled, both going well, both in the same development. So for everyone listening, they're very easy to find. I mean, what else has happened in the last few years?
Did I do the Julius Jones stuff before last time?
A little bit, maybe.
Did I do the walk?
When that was. Let's see. What date was that? Would you?
I think we walked on New Year's Eve when we started walking, but I don't remember what year it was. To be honest, it might have been 21.
Everything goes into just blends in once you think about COVID. I guess it's just those 2 years, right? But I mean, I just talk about it. Tell me about the walk and how that went, because I had Kelly on the podcast, Kelly Masters, and talked about the trial and being involved, and she told the whole story. And I want to say that was probably a couple of years ago, so you're probably right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was actually. I had the idea around this time, probably 2 years ago. So I would say 2021, 2020 into 21.
You're right. Yeah, I just checked. If YouTube says November 17th, 21 was students walk out. So that was the student walkout. So then you did yours probably at Christmas that year, right?
No. That the student walkout. That right there is that's whenever he was. The day of his execution.
Okay.
November what?
That was November 17th. You did a 100-mile walk, right? Was it 100 miles?
Yeah.
December 30th, there's a video. So it was 2020.
2020.
So it was just after we did our podcast.
Right. So New Year's Eve 2020, New Year's 2021. Yeah. Okay. So, but the kids walking out, which was crazy.
Yeah.
I was there for that, was, man, but that was... They walked out on. He was scheduled to be executed on Thursday. They walked out on Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
Because I was at the Capitol Wednesday. I remember somebody ran up and said, "There's a bunch of kids walking over from Northeast," and I was like, "What?" I go outside. It's just a long line of kids coming down from Kelly. And then we get all those kids rounded up in there. And I mean, it's probably 200 kids. We get them in that, what's that called, the rotund?
Yeah.
And then I'm about to talk to the kids, and they're like, a bus just pulled up with more kids. And it was an amazing day, you know. And then we were in McAllister the next day, the day of the execution, or the scheduled execution, and we were all watching on our phones, the kids walking out all over the state. But that 131-mile walk, we started at the Capitol on New Year's Eve, which was a Thursday night. and we got to McAllister that Sunday afternoon. But yeah, that was, you know, that whole time, man, is, you know, I think about it, and it's still like surreal, but still really vivid, you know. Like, I can't even explain, you know, that night before in front of the governor mansion, you know, all that stuff, just all the organizing, all of the, you know, the emotions, but yeah, so that happened. I did Eastside, did Scramble. What else have I done since then? I mean, music, of course.
How's the music going?
Music is going good, really good actually. I dropped a project called "Am I Good Enough," which I was recording around that time. I started recording it in 2020, and then I finished it. I think about 2022, and it was a 4-part EP. With a different producer on each EP, and so we just dropped the vinyl, or had the vinyl release show weekend before last, and you know, and that project has led to a bunch of cool stuff I can't even say yet, but yeah, it's about to be really, really good. So
yeah,
there's that, and then Live Free OKC is what I've been working on ever since then. So
yeah, let's talk about that. So where does that start? Where does the idea come from? And tell me about the process. We've got plenty of time to talk about it today, and I'm kind of excited to dive into it.
Where does it start at? It started at, you know, really with the Julius Jones Coalition, CC Jones Davis. Did you meet her? You met her? She doesn't live here anymore, but she was like the lead for the coalition.
Okay.
She introduced us to a man from Oakland who's a national organizer. His name is Pastor Michael McBride. He came, and you know, we all were just working together on this Julius Jones thing. Afterwards, we went to Oakland, and we met, you know, his team and what he does out there. And what he does out there is CVI work, community violence intervention. They do a lot of things with their Live Free USA organization. They do a lot of things with it. But one of the things that we really loved and wanted to know more about was the community violence intervention program. And so we went to some trainings. We spent a year and a half going to different trainings and learning about the work, because, you know, really, you know, it's something that, you know, myself included, we've been doing in our community for years already, you know. And so how it looks is you take what's called a credible messenger, and those credible messengers are peacemakers, and they are the ones who are able to intervene in violent situations before they, you know, go bad, or intervene before there's a retaliation. You know, our focus is gun violence and in Ward 7, so on the east side primarily. And so, you know, that's what we're doing, you know, and it's really it's taking gun violence and applying a public health approach to it. And so, you know, we launched in October. We launched in August, and it's been, you know, the community has been really responsive, and, you know, I feel like we couldn't have launched at a better time, really. So yeah.
Yeah. So it's you know, you're taking classes and you're learning for a year and a half. That's a lot of learning, a lot of setting the foundation, a lot of process, and just centered around gun violence. Like that's right
now. So Our pilot is centered around gun violence in Ward 7. I mean, of course, we want to, you know, work on other things. We want to be in the schools, you know, and things like that, and you know, just other issues and other injustices that we see. But you know, right now we're focusing on addressing some of this gun violence and trying to reduce it, and then also, you know, help with, you know, those who are caught up in cycles of violence, helping them with resources and you know, things like that, wraparound services, you know, also addressing some of the trauma that people are dealing with, and then we also have the peacemakers who are credible messengers, and then we also have a life coach, and her job is whenever we identify those people and they're our client, we help them with whatever resources they need, whatever wraparound services they need, and then our life coach helps put them on a plan and you know, and helps them set some goals and really make sure, you know, they stick to that plan. So that's, you know, that's kind of in a nutshell how the program works. But yeah, so, you know.
Is there a specific kind of age range you're trying to target, or like what's kind of what are the stats around that you really want to focus on?
Currently, and the stats are changing, but you know, the past couple years, the data on actual gun violence, people who are shooting people or who have gun charges and things like that, are people think it's like high school kids and stuff like that, but it's more you know, 25 and up.
Okay.
Where we've been seeing a rise in the number of youth and kids, you know, who have, you know, gun cases, but so, you know, our target age is, you know, we like I said, we want to be in the schools and work with kids, but our target age and people we work with are going to be like, you know, those adults, you know, who are, you know, you might have, you know, somebody who's 25, 30, you know, and they have a conflict or an issue, and that conflict or an issue is escalated because, you know, they don't have a job, and they're, you know what I'm saying, if they had like some means of income, or they don't have a car, or, you know, they don't even have a couch in their house. They don't have AC and the heat. You know, there are so many factors that oftentimes people don't realize, you know, are the root cause of some of the violence, you know. And so, you know, our goal is to help, you know, kind of lessen the load on a lot of those people's lives in that way, and give them other options. But you know, but yeah, like the incident that happened at the game, like we've been working closely with those kids and with the brothers of the kid who got shot, you know, and the mom, and so yeah, like initially, it's like if they are in proximity or at risk of being involved in gun violence, that's the people we want. You know what I'm saying? And that might be a juvenile, it might be a young kid, it may not be, but I sad to say that people often, whenever they hear about this program, they think like, you know, we're a rec center for kids and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, we're trying to just mentor kids, but yeah, there needs to be some of that. But what we're doing is we're focused on anybody who's involved in gun violence. And, you know, the guy who got shot on Sunday, he was in his 40s, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So, you know.
So sadly, this is happening weekly.
Yeah, it's been this past couple weeks, it has been.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes sense to like you said, to focus on the 25 and kind of up.
where, because there was a lot, not saying there's a lot more pressure at that age, but at that age, like you said, people, society think that you should have a job, you should have whatever, a house, apartment. Like when you're a kid, you're probably living at your parents' or your grandparents' house or whatever it is, and you've kind of generally got less stress on you. You're in school and that's it. But like I said, if you're a little older, I can understand where those underlying things that have maybe built up in your childhood get to when you're 25 and 30 or whatever. And then if you do make some money, you got money to do things, and sometimes those things aren't what you should be doing, and then access to.
And then those 25-year-olds are the ones who are, who are OGs, and who can influence those kids. And if we can pull them and connect with them, then they can pull those kids in. Let's talk about, if you can, talk about like I know this isn't the same, but it's a good example, and it's relevant right now. Is this the high school shooting that happened a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago? How do you then, as a team, like, what is your process of being proactive and using, this is like, hey, this is what we do. Like, this is why I'm here. This is why we're here to do this work. Like, well, so what we do first is we have a meeting to see if anybody knows anything. Anybody knows the kid, if was anybody there, or do we know anybody that was there? Start getting information. And then we say, okay, well, we know the kid, he has 2 brothers. His brothers one is older, one is younger. Okay, and he got shot by a kid, then the chances are there might be some retaliation. So who knows that kid's family? Okay, bam, who knows, you know what I'm saying? And so the first steps are, they look like that, and trying to intervene before there's any retaliation. That could even be us showing up at the hospital. Whenever I was 18, my brother got shot, and I called somebody to the hospital for me, and I think about that all the time. But yeah, sometimes it means showing up to the hospital and just, sitting with the family and, going and get them pizzas or donuts or, coffee, and, talking through what they're feeling. Because sometimes, especially when you know who did it, you know where they at, like, oh man, like, really, like that, he didn't even know about it. I can go get, So
it's very easy to retaliate when you know when someone is, and you have access to a means of retaliation.
Yes. So that that's what it looks like off top.
Okay.
And then from there, say those 2 brothers need some therapy. So we help with that. The mom might need something. She might say, well, the reason he was there was because, he was doing this, or he was, what I'm saying? So, just looking at ways that we can help the family and help people involved with some of their needs, so that, that whatever they're going through isn't as stressful, and then helping them through some of that trauma as well.
Mm-hmm. How do you proactively kind of get in and amongst the community, specifically in Ward 7 where you guys are at? How do you get involved so that you aren't just reacting to this stuff, so you're actually in front of it and preventing this from happening?
Well, and that's the reason why we started in Ward 7, because that's where we're from. Yeah. Everybody who's on our team is from the neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? And that's why they're called credible messengers, because they're credible in that community, and trusted, and they have reputations, so that's the main way, is you got to be somebody who's from there. And that's, people got to be able to trust you and know, well, I know him from when I was a kid, so I know, you know what I'm saying? I know he's good people, so.
Who's on the team?
So we got myself, my friend Brandon Banks. I've known him since I was in 6th grade. another friend, Javier Morales. I've known him since we were in 5th grade. My homeboy Cassius, I met him probably almost 10 years ago. My homeboy Mailman, I've known him probably for 15 years. Janetta, she's our life coach. She's from the neighborhood. And then my friend Jess Eddie, he handles all of our operations and finances and stuff. So everybody that's on the team is, people that I've known for a long time and that I trust, and, they solid in the community too,
Yeah, and it makes total sense, right? You've got to have people who are respected and that people know them from, because you're right, if someone comes in, they have no idea who they are, they're not going to listen to that person, right?
Especially in this, in these type of spaces, you know what I mean? There's protocol, there's, chain of command, you know what I mean? Especially when you start getting into like gang culture for real, it's territorial, and you got to be able to know somebody who knows somebody, So
for people listening that maybe live under a rock or just don't understand or don't see or have never even driven to the east side, there's plenty of people out there that haven't. Explain to me kind of how. I wouldn't say how bad it is, meaning how bad the gang culture is and crime and stuff, but just the scale of just what is actually going on and what it is that you're actually, the goal for you guys to, there's a reason that you started this up, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there was no violence, you wouldn't be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of just a little talk about that if you can, just kind of what's going on and how that's seen and what it is you're dealing with. I mean, it's something that probably is going to go on forever, right? You're never not going to have violence. Mm-hmm. But like you said, if you can tackle the younger generation to stop it going forward in 10, 15 years, that's going to be fine. But for people listening that have no idea of what's actually happening on the east side of Oklahoma City, right?
Yeah, I mean, I need to start by saying statistically, the data shows that most of the violence happens over on the west side of the city. Uh-huh. So, but, people associate the east side with black. Okay. So, if there's, any type of violence or shooting on the east side, there's this idea or stigma that, it's just, what I'm saying? It's
preconceived notion.
Yeah,
that it's just,
and it's not like that.
Right. And that's kind of what I want to dive into is what is actually happening, and then why have you, obviously you started up there because it's your home spot. But,
like any community, there are these violent circumstances sometimes. And so for me, it's understanding that because that's a possibility and because, you do have, you still do have gangs, you still do have all those things that every community has, then, for us, there was definitely a need. And I started there because that's where I'm from, right.
Yeah.
But we eventually do want to have a team on the west side. We want to have a team on the south side, as well. But that'll take us, building with people from those communities, So, but I would just say, there is a misconception, about the east side, Sure. For instance, people, when I started doing the restaurants, people always say, it's food desert, it's food. I used to say it, you know what I mean? But what I learned over time is that it's not a food desert, it's a food apartheid. And the difference is a desert is created by God, okay. Not man. And apartheid is created by man intentionally to a group of people. And when you look at the history of the East Side, that's what we were dealing with. The resources were stripped from us for a reason, intentionally, displacement, all those things that a lot of people are still dealing with on the east side. So when you think about the type of conditions that, we've had to grow up and live in for years, those conditions were brought on from prior years and years of disinvestment. Before we were doing East Point, where East Side pieces and Scrambled is, and that's where I live free offices too. But before we were doing that, I hadn't seen any development over there for 30 plus years. You can't go anywhere over here and say that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, because they won't let it happen, you know what I mean? Like there's people always investing and developing and, taking care of things. And then the misconception is, well, we don't, either we don't take care of things, or we don't want nice things, or, or we don't know how to appreciate them. But you can look at East Point and everything else we're doing and see that's not true.
Right.
But it's taken all these years to even just move the needle that much.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned a little bit about kind of the history of the East Side and how that, and you've been very involved in that, and this year celebrated Clara Luper's 100th birthday, and there's a documentary coming out that Prairie Surf are working on. What's that been like, being involved and celebrating, her for 100 years and just everything that she's done, the legacy she's left?
It's been good. It's always good to talk about Clara Luper. Not only like, is she a hero of mine, but, she was best friends with my grandmother, and my aunt was one of the original sit-inners, so that's a part of my legacy too. But specifically for Miss Luper, it's just, for me, it's important that I continue to share about her and the things she did, because of mainly because her philosophy, on injustice, and her philosophy on using love to fight injustice, And so, we celebrated the 100 years of her birthday, and we had a what we call the Unity in the Community celebration, and we had people from all walks of life, all corners of the city, all corners of the state come and represent, and talk about, embracing unity. We celebrate the 65th year of the sit-ins, and still to this day there are people who still, when you mention Clara Luper, you mention the sit-ins in 1958, there are people who never even heard of it yet. So for that reason, it's important that I continue to teach and talk about her and the things that she did, and like I said, her philosophy.
Yeah, and you kind of look back, you have that, you can draw motivation from it, you can draw lessons. Like you said, a lot of the stuff in the world can be solved by just love, right? Mm-hmm. It's a simple four-letter word, but it carries so much weight in so many different scenarios. And, it might sound corny or whatever, but it's pretty spot on. Like,
mm-hmm.
Like if you have some compassion and some empathy and a little bit of love mixed in, like we can resolve whatever it is we're going through right now. Mm-hmm. And that ties into everything that you're doing, with Live Free and gun violence, and not having that, very knee-jerk reaction, or just kind of blowing a fuse and thinking, I have to react now, I need to send a message, I need to retaliate. And the only easy way you know how to is because you have a gun in your pocket, or you have one in the house, or whatever it is. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have guns. Like I don't want to get into that topic, because everyone has them, and there's a right for that, and
that it is what it is, right?
Yeah,
but it's using it in the right way.
Yeah, I think I think the idea is just, learning more peaceful ways to settle disputes, settle conflict, resolve issues other than violence, especially whenever that violence can resort to someone being shot, and so it's important for me because, I know, like I said, if I have friends and family who have been shot and killed, and so I just feel like, there's always, or there should be always, another way to resolve, an issue that you have with someone, and not feel like the solution is to kill them or shoot them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so if I can intervene in any of those situations and help, them be resolved peacefully, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. So this is, obviously this has been in the making for quite a while, and you've done a year and a half of training and a bunch of other stuff too, and it's just kicked off. You had your first event kind of in early in August. What's the future look like? What's kind of, I know, like you mentioned, you'd love to have a spot on the south side and the west side, but, I guess for the next 6 months, I mean, what are you working towards? Are you having events? How are you raising awareness about this?
So the next 6 months, will look like, we're going to start working at Kojak, which is the juvenile center, working with some of those kids there. And a lot of those kids over there have gun charges, and they'll be out soon. What else? Definitely, we have a working on a peace forum where we bring community members together, principals, parents, clergy, people like that, to discuss ways to bring peace to our community. We'll be doing things like that. Other, peace events, with the schools and going to the schools, talking to students. But a lot of the work, you won't be able to see because, we'll be in situations and places and talking to people who, for the most part, are in the trenches, just like this situation with this kid, like, it's crazy hearing everybody talk about, Choctaw and Del City, and wanting people to go and, talk to kids at Choctaw and talk to kids at Del City, and, but not even realizing, like, where this situation, this conflict even stemmed from, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They just think it's two schools.
And how deep it goes, and then you really, see what I'm saying? So
it's deeper than just going.
Yeah,
to schools,
you know what I'm
right?
saying? Like and had it not been, honestly, had it not been at Choctaw Del City game, we probably would have never even made the news. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right.
But, whenever, you start scaring white kids, and it's different. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's on video too,
and
right?
And that video is crazy.
Gunshots.
Everybody, So, so I just think that, there's a lot of work that we have to do that, won't be, public.
Sure.
And, whenever we meet, no phones, none of that, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just that, it's that kind of work, So we have a great board, and working with other, organizations and groups to help with some of those resources and help with some of the issues. We work with team. We work with Urban League. We work with Diversion Hub, Red Rock, North Care, Urban Bridge, Stop the Violence, all these different people who are, tasks, these people who are doing work, or who have been doing work, who just not this specific kind of work. This model has never been done in Oklahoma City. I doubt in Oklahoma, but then once you start doing it, you realize that a lot of the work does overlap. Yeah. And so it's important that, we continue to collaborate with other people who are, also in this same type of fight for the community.
Right. And who's on the board? And how many of you are on the board?
We have a small board right now. Kerry Watkins. Who else? I can't think of Megan's name. Megan, she's at Diversion Hub. Megan, I think she's the director of Diversion Hub. Okay. Lynn Jackson, Marilyn Looper Hildreth, Pastor Reed at Fairview, Jonathan Dodson with Pivot. I think that's it right now. Oh, and Sky Latimer.
Nice. You've got a good team together, and like I said, it seems like once you collaborate with everyone that is overlapping, because like I said, no one else is doing this specifically like you are, but there's a lot of similarities and a lot of overlapping, and I assume that's how you can kind of generate funding too. Is right. It's like, look, we are working on sort of the same issue here, and you need funding, right?
Yeah, we hope to generate more funding. I know to get a school program, we'll need more funding, And that's another thing too, is like these, our peacemakers are professionals, what I'm saying? Like they need benefits, they need, salaries, what I'm saying? Yeah. It's not like you can't do the type of work and, be working another job and then, what I'm saying? Because something happens, you need to be able to be there, you know what I mean?
You need to be all in.
Yeah, so our people are paid full time. They have benefits and all that. So we, as we grow and try to get, secure more funding, it's helping people understand how vital and important, this work is. And it's not an after school program. It's not a mentor on the weekends. You know what I'm saying? This is like for real in the mix with people who you never, that what I'm saying, that you won't ever be in the same kind of room with ever in the world, what I'm saying, in your life.
Yeah. Do you see this as something that you will be working on for the rest of your life, being involved in the rest of your life? And obviously lives, we have seasons, things come and go, and you do projects, but it does seem like this is something that
I think so, and I want it to grow, and I want to be able to, as we grow, address other injustices, and this is just the first phase of Live Free OKC, if that makes sense.
So is it livefreeokc.com? .org. Okay. Livefreeokc.org. Do we have any social media stuff for it as well?
Yeah, everything is Live Free OKC.
Okay,
yeah.
Awesome. Finishing up then, when are you stepping on stage next?
Ooh, when am I stepping on stage next? I'm doing something on Sunday with the Phil at the Citadel Park.
Nice.
Yeah, Sunday night I'll be at Citadel Park with the Phil. But just as for myself, I'm probably gonna wait till January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got some stuff working on. Yeah. In the new year. Exciting, dude. Well, great. Thanks for coming down. I really appreciate you sharing some.
For sure. Thank
stories
you, man.
and coming on again for the podcast. There's a very select group of people who've been on 3 times, and now you're in that group. So,
who else is in it?
Jake Keys from Skydance has been on a few times. I think Kelly is at 2 or 3, 2 now maybe. It's really not that many people. So
I love Jake. That's a good dude.
Yeah, it's a very good dude. You're right. But no, thanks for coming down. I appreciate it. For people listening, I'll put the link in the description for Live Free OKC and then your socials as well. If I assume people follow you, but if they're not,
Jabee's socials in the description as well. And if anyone's listening and wants to get involved, wants to reach out, livefreeokc.org is where you need to start. So thanks for coming down, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
For everyone listening, we'll catch you next episode. Cheers. Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by Hope is Alive. Hope is Alive exists to radically change the lives of drug addicts, alcoholics, and those who love them. Join us Saturday, September 30th for our Sobriety Sprint 5K as we remember, honor, and celebrate those who've lost their lives. This family-focused event will feature a 1-mile fun run, inflatables, food trucks, and more. Register to run or honor a loved one at sobrietysprint.com.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.